And now we move on to our final session of the day, where I'm pleased to introduce Emma, CRO EMEA at PubMatic. Emma will lead the conversation as we look to tie everything we have discussed today together, showcase some of the great work corporate companies are doing, and discuss what else we can do as an industry to drive real change. Emma, please take over and present your awesome stuffed panel.
Okay, thank you, Stefan, and good afternoon, everyone. As Stefan said, my name is Emma Newman, and I'm the EMEA Chief Revenue Officer for PubMatic. And today, myself and the panelists will be focusing on how we can drive industry change through tangible actions. And of course, whilst I'm delighted to be hosting the final panel of a day that's been full of interesting and thought-provoking content, I think it's fair to say that being asked to close out on a high is a little pressure-inducing. The good news is that I'm joined this afternoon by 4 panelists who are about as passionate as it is possible to be when it comes to driving sustainability across the digital advertising ecosystem. So please join me in welcoming Anthony Crocker, Head of Commercial Success Strategy at the Telegraph, Estee Cheng, Managing Director, gTech Sustainability at Google, Yann, Roux, VP Sales and Partnership at Impact Plus, and Kathryn Stevens, or Kat Stevens, as she will now be known, Global Client Director EMEA at GroupM Nexus. So that's enough from me. Conscious of time, let's get to the discussion. I'm going to kick off by asking each panelist to briefly introduce themselves and share why they are passionate about sustainability beyond it being actually part of their role. So Anthony, why don't I ask you to kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my role at the Telegraph is Head of Commercial Success, and that's really focusing on measuring and improving the value of a premium subscriber environment and attention quality. And actually, what's been really encouraging to hear today across the other panels and the other discussion is there's definitely, I think, consolidation, that there is alignment with those things, and that actually sustainability efforts are not a compromise to those kind of business objectives, responsible ad delivery, quality attention, but they're actually intrinsic and critical to that, which is where I really started to come into that, because actually the more that we looked into it and the more that we were focused on our kind of carbon reduction efforts, the more evidence we saw that those two things were absolutely critically aligned. So I'm really excited to get into that today with everyone else.
Fantastic. Estee?
Hi, everyone. I'm Estee Cheng. I'm a little under the weather, so I promise I don't normally sound like this. But I lead a team at Google called gTech Sustainability. We actually started as a volunteer group, just looking at different ways we can help clients meet their sustainability goals. And over the last 4 or 5 years, grew into a fully funded team that's working on ad sustainability efforts across Google.
Brilliant. And Kat? I think you're on mute, Kat.
Hi there, sorry about that. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me. I am Kat Stevens, as you say, working from Nexus Media Solutions. I'm here because I like all of the generations in my family before me, I'm a really keen gardener, and I get really scared when I see things like plants are flowering a month before they should be. These are fundamental things to how we live our lives, and there is no bigger challenge that we need to rise to. So this is more important than anything else that we should be doing.
Good. I will be coming to you for tips then, because nothing's blooming in my garden. Finally, to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Nice to be here. So yeah, I joined. So I'm the head of sales and partnership at Impact Plus. At Impact Plus, what we do is we help industry players, starting with brands and agencies, to basically go through their sustainability journey, starting with measurement and continuing over to reduction, active reduction. The reason I'm here, the reason I'm with Impact Plus, is I'm a big outdoor sport guy. I'm big on trail running. So in the mountain and also nautical sports, and joining Impact Plus was an opportunity to join my personal value and taste and passion with actually changing the industry. I've been part of this industry for pretty much ever, and I love having the opportunity to make a big change and turn it into a sustainable one. So that's why I'm here.
Good. Now I know why you're all here. Let's get to the nitty-gritty and talk a little bit about progress. If we reflect on the ongoing efforts in sustainability over the past few years, how much progress do you believe the industry has made as a whole? And are you personally satisfied with the progress? And as I've got you in front of me, Yann, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. So there definitely is awareness of the issue. People know about it. Anyone you talk to is aware of it. Or not only is aware of it, but they know it's important. So it's very positive. People know it exists and know it's important for this industry. We also see that in the State of Readiness report that was released a few months ago, which I'm sure everyone on this call has seen. So the survey that was done by IB Europe, it makes it very clear. Everyone knows it's a top 3 issue for our industry moving forward. So that's just very positive. Now, when you talk to people day to day, you talk to your prospect like we do, most of the time you talk to people and even though they know about it, they don't have a plan or they don't have a concrete plan. They know they will have to think about it. They know they'll have to work on it, but they don't have a plan and they don't know where they are and where to start and how to start. So there's a lack of, motivation, know about there are solutions out there. There are ways to do it. There are effective solutions, effective processes, but not enough of it. So in short, lots of talk, lots of theory, but not enough practice.
Okay, maybe we'll get to that. Estee, what do you think about progress?
I think the say-do gap is real, but I do think compared to a year ago, we're seeing some progress, especially in Europe. Even I think within GARM, we sit in at least 6 hours of GARM meeting every week. That was definitely something new that came up this year. We have more clients asking for this than ever before. I do think Europe is probably ahead of the curve, and I definitely think there's still a lot of confusion on this topic, but I definitely think progress has been made in this last year.
And do you think it's regulation that's driving that in Europe as opposed to other regions?
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. Anthony, what's your view on progress?
Yeah, I agree with the others. And I think actually it can feel like progress has been really slow. But for those that are on the coalface of trying to build out those frameworks and build out those regulations, the complexity of what we're doing is massive and huge. And actually, I think we need to give ourselves credit as an industry for being really understanding the sort of the delicacy that people have spoken about, the risk of impacting things like funding quality journalism and other things that we just really need to make sure that we're considering. So I don't think it feels slow, but actually, like Estee said, there's a lot of work that's going into making sure that we're doing this and we're going to get it right. But I do think at the same time, there's a frustration on my part that there are some really kind of commonsensical things that people should be doing and that they're just not making those changes. And that's fundamental changes to how they're storing their data, just looking at their kind of ad delivery strategies and being a lot more responsible, not just from a carbon reduction perspective, but actually just because it's a better to be sustainable in every aspect for your business. So it's really frustrating to see that people are saying, oh yeah, we understand why we need to make these changes, but they're not. I don't see any kind of, I don't see it happening. And I don't know why that is. And it's almost, is there a catch-22 where people are waiting for the kind of the measurement tools to be in place so they can say, look what we did and look how we can measure the change that we made, rather than just making the change and then saying, okay, great, we'll be in a really good place that when we have those tools and we have those measurements, we can make it even better. But I really don't know what's holding people back from making some really the big impactful commonsensical changes that they should be thinking about today.
I'm glad you said that, because I do want to talk a little bit about those barriers. Considering the challenges we face in advancing sustainability, what are the primary barriers do you think that are hindering our progress as an industry? And also, instead of just harping on about the barriers, I think it's really important to start sharing with the audience what strategies have been effective in overcoming obstacles to sustainability progress within your respective roles or your organization. So, Anthony, I'm going to ask you to kick off with that, and then Kat, I'm going to come to you for your perspective.
Yeah, so I think there's many reasons why, but one of the kind of key things that I always think is that unfortunately the impact of the ad industry is still, especially to the average consumer, even, to those in the industry, is still incredibly complex and abstract. So, if your phone was pumping out carbon emissions as you were using it, we'd probably see some more kind of urgent action. I think once we've got those measurement tools in place, I've just said that people should be making those changes now, but actually I do think that once we start to have alignment on what measurement looks like, it gives us an opportunity to really start to educate, not just us as advertisers in the industry, but also the average consumer in the X amount of impressions, for example, is worth a airplane ride to Delhi or whatever it might be, once people can start to have a kind of tangible understanding of those impacts, then it's going to make a difference. And I think also that's really critical to how consumers react to MFAs as well. So if they start to understand that actually I'm looking at a site that's clearly full of clutter, that's clearly full of wastage and kind of irresponsible ad delivery, hopefully those consumer choices are going to start to put pressure on the industry to make the changes they need to make.
Okay, thank you. And Kat?
Yeah, I love that image of the phones producing. We'd get a lot more done a lot quickly if people could see it visually, right? And for people to understand. Yeah, communication is obviously a really big challenge and sort of education across the market, across the industry wide. I'd also say that businesses are at different stages of their journeys. I think everyone now should be on a path, on a journey. Some are more advanced than others, and I also think that depending on where you are will determine what area of focus you're looking at. From my perspective, I'm lucky enough to work with Colgate-Palmolive across EMEA. Now, their focus primarily, their scope 1, scope 2, makes them zoom in on water consumption and recycling, like plastic waste, because their primary concern, and they've had huge impacts in that area. They've done great work to invest in research and years of development to produce a recyclable toothpaste tube, which, being the company that it is, they did something brilliant, which was they allowed the industry to take that and so that it's universal. It's not just Colgate that can use that. So, but that has been the focus to date. But I think given all of the new legislation that's coming in and advancements in other areas, I think companies will start to really zone in and focus on digital emissions as well, which is only a good thing.
One of the biggest barriers when I've been talking to colleagues in the industry, and actually just friends and peers really, is around mindset. So whilst I've got you, Kat, do you think there is a need for a cultural shift or mindset change within media and advertising organizations to prioritize sustainability as a core value rather than just as a peripheral concern or something that's good for the bottom line?
Yeah, I think we're definitely at the early adopter stage of the curve at the moment, and I think we have specialists, we have the real kind of hardcore teams of people that are coming together to really focus on this and look at how do we develop. At GroupM, we're developing Carbon Calculate, an algorithm that can optimize to the best, most efficient placements. As you're saying, Anthony, as well, about losing the MFA, losing the wastage, and really getting to the quality, which also drives performance and real outcomes for clients. So we're definitely at that stage. The mindset shift will be when we have tangible things in place, the measurement and the tools, that we can then start to make this mass market, if you like, so that everyone in the industries understands their role to play on every media plan.
And do you think people are prepared to pay for quality? Because we hear a lot about quality, but do you think times are tight? Are advertisers prepared to pay for quality, do you think?
The approach that we're taking is that we're looking at fewer but more efficient ads, go for the quality, and actually in turn it pays off. It's in effect, it's not more expensive, it's driving better performance. So actually your cost per performance is better.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yann, what do you think around mindset? What are you seeing?
Yeah, definitely there needs to be a change. So it's definitely a yes. We agree that sustainability is vital, needs to happen. Then it's about integrating it into how we do business, into our business processes. So it needs to become how we do business. It should no longer be a side specialty led by CSR specialists, like sometimes it is today. So this is what we need to do as an industry, and in every one of our companies, and we need to do it now. So I think the one big item is we need that advertisers to play a major role. They do play a major role, but their role is very central. They can drive that change by making sustainability one of their core expectations towards the entire industry. Agencies, publishers, ad tech, you name them. If advertisers make it a core component of their expectation, then the whole industry will follow. So critical, the lead, absolutely.
Okay. We've talked a lot about hypotheticals and what people should do, and there's a lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda kind of thing. But let's talk a little bit about tangible examples. So I think it will be useful for our audience. I'm always very keen if I'm doing a panel that the audience can take something actually away. Could we share some tangible examples of how your company or your customers have positively impacted sustainability efforts? Kat, you talked about Colgate-Palmolive, for example. How do you measure this impact, or how do they measure this impact? And Anthony, I'm going to start with you, and then Estee, I'm coming to you, Yann, and then Kat.
Yeah, so I took this question away to a couple of my colleagues. So there's some stuff going on above my pay grade, which I'm not going to dive into, but things like elastic cloud computing. We've really worked hard to make sure that operationally we're a zero landfill company, things like that. But actually, specifically focused on the business that I'm concerned with, it's really linking your efforts to everything else that you're doing to sustain your brand in every other mindset. We reduced our ad ratio to 1 ad per screen. So actually, if you're a publisher that has 3 ads per screen, that's not really good for quality. It's not good for reader experience. But it also turns out that you're probably in terms wastage in terms of carbon output as well. We're exclusively first-party data operation in terms of our targeting capabilities. So again, we're not relying on third-party data warehouses and things like that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that we're really conscious about the partners we work with, the vendors that we work with. We encourage, massively discourage multiple verification when it's not required. You only need one trusted verification partner, for example. And on that basis, we have our preferred partners, Oracle. They're looking towards being completely net zero by 2025. They're on track to do that, which is fantastic. But also then supporting some of the projects that they're working on as well, making sure that we're promoting them. So they recently did a partnership with Scope 3, where they directly linked attention quality to carbon efficiency. And that was based on everything that Kat said earlier about actually it's less is more, and actually it's quality over quantity. So that works from an ROI perspective, and that works from a carbon emissions and wastage perspective as well. So it's really about driving that message home and making sure that we're doing everything we can to deliver responsible ad delivery from every aspect, not just carbon efficiency. We're making sure that the partners we work with are doing the same as well. So, yeah.
You're really holding your partners to account, and that's part of the RFI process?
Exactly, yeah. We really look at, it's not about working with as many people as possible. It's about working with the right people for the product that we want to produce for our end user experience, and being really selective with those partners and holding them to account, yeah.
Absolutely. Estee, when we spoke yesterday, I know you've got some really good examples you'd like to share.
Yeah, over the last few years, we have clients that have really proactively reached out and wanting to lean in on sustainability in a variety of ways. I'll share 4 examples that's top of mind. First is a European airline that decided to take their marketing budget and reallocate it based off of flights that have the most efficient carbon emissions without sacrificing any marketing performance metrics. I've also seen EDF, which is an energy company, who saw a 17% decrease in cost per conversion, and also an estimated 13% decrease in emissions by using our custom bidding feature to target publishers who are lower carbon, have the lowest carbon emissions. Another example is in Europe, a fashion retailer worked with us on a UX study where they implemented recommendations that we gave them around their sizing. So they updated their sizing widget and saw an 8% decrease in returns. And then last but not least, YouTube did a project with Unilever, Uber, Bayer, and Sephora recently, where we invited them to work with us on a multi-format kind of concept where they used the Ad Net Zero production guideline to make the ads that focus a message on sustainability. And using this AI tool, they're able to serve this ad in multiple different formats, saving kind of production efficiency. And almost all, I think all of them saw an uplift in terms of brand lift. And each of these brands delivered over 20 million impressions on YouTube as a result of it. So happy to share some of that case study in the chat as well.
I think that would be great if you could put a link into the case studies. Yeah. Fabulous. Before I come to you, Yann, just a quick shout out to the audience. We've got about 9 minutes left. So if you do have any questions, do pop them in the chat box and we'll try and get to them. Back to you then, in terms of tangible examples. What have you seen?
Yeah, so we've done work we are constantly doing work with agencies and for brands to add emission optimization to their optimizing of toward the campaign KPI. So a couple examples I can share. One is for Guerlain, the luxury brand. They were able to reduce their campaign emissions by 24%, 24, so very significant number, by optimizing placement on the fly during the campaign, looking at the data, and then optimizing towards minimizing emissions while maintaining the campaign performance. Also, Lancôme, another luxury brand, was also able to reduce their campaign emissions by 38% by compressing their video creative. So 38%, very significant number. So overall, compression is a very powerful way to minimize your emissions while not changing anything in how you do media. So typically we see a creative compression driving about 40% emission reduction on average. And the in-campaign emission optimization I was talking about can routinely drive up to 50% across all optimization levels. So 50% less emissions for the campaign. So these are very significant results. And to be honest with you, they are not very difficult to achieve, provided you work with the right people and with the right tools.
And are those results things that sort of are almost instantaneous, or are those results over a period of time?
Days, very quickly.
Okay. And Kat, what about you? Some tangible examples from either your organization or the clients that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have had a team of experts that came together and worked on an algorithm that is able to optimize towards like best performing and reducing emissions. So again, bringing performance and reducing emissions at the same time. So they went through a series of different ways to optimize the campaigns, though very granular basis, but all to do with kind of reducing wastage, etc. And they were able to develop a case study, a client case study that said we have reduced carbon emissions by 39% with a completion rate of 84% on video. So that's 3% over our benchmark performance. And we've reduced wastage and delivered 3% lower ads, fewer ads than expected. So this is what I'm talking about, is with fewer but better ads.
Okay, I'm getting that message actually. Less is more.
Less is more.
Let's talk a little bit about the future now. So if we look ahead, what are the key opportunities for advancing sustainability within our industry, and how do we ensure continued momentum? And Kat, I'll go to you first, followed by Yann and then Anthony, and then I have a final question for each of you.
Yeah, so I think the way that we're thinking about things is that there's 3 phases in the business. So it's about informing, equipping, and celebrating. So informing is the education piece. How do we make sure all teams understand the task, the challenge, and their role to play within it? Equipping is things like developing playbooks to say, even if there isn't the measurement or the toolbook or whatever it is that is out there, how do we compress file sizes or make those steps to have SPO as, you know, as part of this? The quick wins, and then the sharing and celebrating. This is building case studies and building a bank of achievements that we have delivered both across scope 3 and scope 1 and 2, so that we can really build momentum and bring people with us.
And are you looking to do partnerships to move across those scope 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and there are some great solutions available in the market already through and the SSPs, through people like Seen This. There's momentum and there are opportunities available.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yann, how do we maintain momentum?
Yeah, I think when I look at the state of readiness and the survey, it's great work. What I'd like to see actually, and I'm wondering if we could not turn this or complement this with a nice rate card for the industry, and just use it as a way to incentivize everyone, create some challenge, some healthy competition, because where we could, map the industry and where people would rate themselves in terms of where they stand in their journey. And then you would create we could monitor how we're doing as an industry and just incentivize everyone to be at the top and to be among the leaders. No name and shame, but just some healthy competition on the regular rate card, maybe every 3 months or every 6 months, as often as we can afford to, and just create some challenge in the industry. I think it's a very challenging industry and people are competitors, and it would create a very healthy competition to drive everyone in the right direction.
Brilliant. And Anthony, same question. How do we maintain that momentum?
I think just going back to the point I made earlier, education is critical, and just to slightly differentiate from what Kat said, which is so important, but I think it's consumer education. Ultimately, the pressure to do this is going to come from the consumer side. So if they understand, they can look at a website and differentiate an MFA that's causing wastage and is not delivering value in any capacity, but just creating carbon impact versus something of quality, then that's half the battle won in terms of driving that momentum. So yeah.
Just a quick audience question. I'm going to throw it out there. Let me know if you know who wants to answer it. It's really about what are employees doing in your organizations personally to try and reduce their impact on the environment. Does anybody have any suggestions or ideas that they could share with the audience? Anthony, you're nodding, so I'm going to come to you, and then I saw Kat nodding.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I was nodding as in I was like, oh, that's a really good question.
I'm going to go to Kat, because she was definitely nodding at the question.
Yeah, definitely. So we've set up green teams across all of the various different companies that exist within WPP. We come together quite regularly. So I'm based in Rose Court campus. So we as a building come together and we talk and we share ideas. And there's some great stuff going on in terms of there's things that connect into wellness as well. So that things that have other advantages. For example, I know one of the other companies in the building do a thing where you can connect to Strava and demonstrate that your commute to work is you've reduced your emissions by either walking, running, cycling, not taking public transport, basically. And in doing so, you build up additional days leave. What a great idea. Who's going to say no to that? So there are lots of different initiatives that companies can take that also have other benefits for employees.
I also love that you're wearing green today. I don't know if that was a conscious choice, but I'm gonna okay, we've got 90 seconds left. So a quick fire question for each of you. We are here in a year's time, and you open up Campaign magazine or whatever the equivalent is in your market, and there is a headline about sustainability within the industry. What is that headline? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I would love to see an industry-aligned standard on carbon measurement. And I would love that to be around in a year's time where we all use the same standard, same methodology to calculate our carbon footprint.
I'd echo that and just say a case study saying we've demonstrated that we have reduced emissions.
Perfect. Okay. Anthony?
I'd like to see a headline that talks about every effort we're making from not just a carbon reduction perspective, but something that shows that we've managed to push the decline on MFAs, and actually AI is not helping to sustain that and support that. Actually, we're using AI in a really positive way to squash it once and for all, get rid of it.
Okay, and Yann, close us out.
Yeah, I'd love an advertiser, for example, like a major advertiser coming out and just sharing actual data about how proud they are that they've been able to reduce emissions related to their digital marketing. That would mean the audience is mature enough to not consider it as greenwashing, and just the advertisers would feel comfortable enough to talk about that, which would obviously show the lead and drive the industry forward.
Okay, those are 4 amazing headlines that I hope we do see this time next year. That's it from us. I'm just going to thank my panelists, Anthony, Estee, Yann, and Kat, and hand you back to Stefan. Thank you, everyone.